Industry Partnerships Manager. And I'm just here today to talk a little bit about responsible travel, sustainability, and Intrepid's sort of part in all of that. So as some of you might know, responsible travel is truly at the core of what we do. It really is like literally in our DNA. So even how Intrepid came to be, our founders, Match and Daryl, were traveling back in the 80s and they were obviously loving it, but they were thinking, how can we give back to all of these communities that we're going and visiting? And that is literally how Intrepid was born. So as you can there imagine, as all the years have passed, it has just become more and more and more important to us. So I'm going to give you a little brief overview of all of the things that we are doing. But just to sort of start off, I'm going to, for anyone that doesn't really know anything about Intrepid, here is just a really quick overview of what we do. So essentially, we provide small group adventures and tailor-made experiences all over the world, but sustainability and having a very experience-rich approach is really what we're all about. So there are three important things that sort of sum up our trips. And as you can see here, so they are immersive itineraries. So we are all about immersive travel. So this is, basically connecting with the destination you are in, meeting with local people, having sort of local excursions, and just truly feeling like you are really learning all about this destination that you are in. Then it's always within a small group if you are on a tour. So averagely we have about 8 to 10 people per trip. So really nice, really small, and just a very personal experience. And then we always use local leaders. So all of our leaders have to be connected to that destination. And they are just brilliant. They are just so passionate. But honestly, it is their local knowledge that is just second to none. And, you could just never get that if, for say, it was like me leading you guys through India or Sri Lanka. So that is, what we're all about. These three things together package up super lovely. And essentially, we have a really high repeat client base. And I truly think that is because we, when customers travel with us, they really enjoy the Intrepid trip, but they truly trust in our brand. And I think responsible travel and being able to trust in your tour operator plays a huge part in that. So let's get going with just finding out a little bit more about what we're doing in that space. So we really are here to do good and also put on incredible trips, but those two things go hand in hand. So first up, I'm just going to talk a little bit about decarbonisation. So this is a little bit more sciencey, and then we'll kind of go on to talking a bit more about the trip and what your customers would experience while on the trip. So decarbonising our business. We have been carbon neutral since 2010, which in of itself is a really cool thing because carbon neutrality, I don't think was that big of a topic back in 2010. So that really shows how important decarbonising our business has been for such a long time. Back in 2020, we declared a climate emergency, and that is when we developed a very robust decarbonisation roadmap that was all about basically, decarbonising our business. And we basically created science-based targets to reach those goals. And that's a really important thing because that really is a genuine roadmap in how do we actually do this. A nice example of this is train travel. So there's loads of ways we're decarbonising our business, but this is one that I quite like to talk about. So you will have seen that train travel is becoming more and more important at Intrepid. We've actually just launched train travel in as a new sort of travel theme, and we've actually got 3 new itineraries that focus around train travel, one of which takes you through Mongolia, which I think is absolutely amazing. But in terms of decarbonising our business and train travel, one of the things we did is we are removing all flights that are under 90 minutes where we can on our top 50 itineraries, and then hope to go and do so with more of our itineraries. How this actually looks is in 2024, we actually have 4,000 fewer flights on our trips. So, all these things really do sort of add up. And I think that's, a great example of one of the ways we can decarbonise our business. And I actually went on a scenic Vietnam trip back in March. And on this trip, they actually had done this. So instead of flying between Hoi An and Ho Chi Minh, we actually got a second overnight train, which we all loved. And actually what it gave us the opportunity to do is go and visit some lesser visited and lesser known places in Vietnam that normally you just fly straight over. So yeah, that was just I actually experienced one of the itineraries that had done this, and we all just absolutely loved it. So I think that's a really nice example. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about carbon labeling as well. So we are really proud of this. We have actually added carbon labels to over 800 of our itineraries. And the idea behind this is to allow travelers and our customers to make a more informed decision, because they can see how much carbon per person is emitted every day on that trip. And then they can actually go, and if they're interested, compare that to their, general life. How much carbon do I emit, by myself, living my average life. And I think it's just a really fantastic thing that we've done. So to be able to do this, you basically need to identify all the different components that contribute to your overall footprint. So that includes accommodation, transport, the food provided on trips, the activities, the local operations office, their emissions, waste, all of these things. We then go and add a 15% contingency, just to account for anything that we might have unintentionally missed, and that is how we then come up with this the sort of carbon label and how much is emitted every day. And and we're basically working to have this on every single one of our trips. And one of the main reasons we did this is we actually conducted some research last year, and we found that 60% of people are more likely to book with a company that is transparent about their environmental impact. And this is one of the best ways that we can be completely transparent. The other really nice thing is that we are not gatekeeping this information, and we actually created a open source guide to carbon labeling and emission modeling, which you can go and have a look at, and actually then go and work out how to carbon label your own trips. We're also pushing this out to other tour operators, because we truly believe that responsible travel and sustainable travel is not it's not just for one company to do and to sort of work like by yourself on it. It's for the whole industry. So I think that's just something really cool, and you can go and look for our website and see that on 800 of our trips. Fab. So that's a bit about decarbonising our business. Now just a bit onto being a B Corp. So we're obviously really proud to say that we are part of the B Corp family. Essentially, if you don't know what B Corp is, in a real nutshell, it is about companies that are trying to do good for the world. And essentially, when you are making a business decision, most companies will just base that decision on profit. But when you're a B Corp, you have to base your decision on purpose and profit. And within purpose comes planet and people and all of those things. That is a real nutshell. There is so much more to being a B Corp than just that. So we have always been about balancing purpose and profit. And we joined B Corp in 2018, and we actually recertified in 2021 with a higher score and got named on their B Corp Best for the World list. And we were on there with like Patagonia, Ben and Jerry's, these really huge brands that are doing really amazing things in that space. So that was really, really exciting for us. What being a B Corp means for you, though, is it is an independent global stamp of approval. So if you have a customer that is interested in this, by telling them that we are a B Corp, they know that they can trust in us. And that's really, really important. And if they don't know what a B Corp is and they are interested, merely telling them about B Corp will just open up such an amazing information source for them, because, we as a company, we actually try and only ever go and work with other B Corps and things like that. So, it is fantastic to see the sort of travel B Corp family growing. And what B Corp is really good at is it means that you are more dedicated and more accountable than ever to really making an impact. And so that is just a fantastic organization to be a part of. And I should say, it is no easy feat to be a B Corp. I think it took us about 4 years to become one, because they analyze every single element of your business. So it's definitely something that you work really hard towards. And and then it's fantastic when you're a part of it. So the decarbonising the B Corp, these are things that are kind of going on in the sort of wider sphere. And the next couple of slides, I'm just going to really focus down on sort of more on-trip stuff that we're doing. So these are things that you can just tell your customers about, or that they will just experience whilst they're on a trip with us. So Firstly, just want to talk a little bit about tourism dollars. So for us, making sure it's really important to make sure that the tourism dollar stays where it belongs, and that is in the local economy. So we want as much money to be in that local economy as possible. So we do that in three core ways. And that is firstly, obviously, traveling with our local guide. As I said before, our guides have to be connected to the destination. That often, more times than not, means they are from that destination, they are living there, and therefore we are providing employment to people in that destination rather than bringing in an international guide. We will always eat at local restaurants. Not only most of the time does this mean you have like the best food, but once again, it's supporting those local businesses. And also, we always try and stay in locally owned accommodation. So, all of these three things just basically mean that you really help to support the local community in wherever you are. So that's one really important thing. The next is having experiences with an impact. So we basically include loads of experiences that are not like your traditional tourism product. And, so we will go and visit and have experiences by sort of women-owned businesses, First Nation and ethnic minorities, social enterprises and not-for-profits and things like that. And that is just amazing. And it just gives you such a different insight into that community. A really nice example of this is on the Scenic Vietnam trip that I did, not to keep talking about that one. We went and stayed at Dabac Village. This is a community tourism sort of initiative, and it's a community homestay where the entire village gets involved with your stay. So whether it's we had a local gentleman who took us out for a walk one day. We had some women show us how to cook some food, all of these amazing things. And it's in such a beautiful rural place in Vietnam. So not only as a customer are we able to go and go and experience somewhere different and slightly off that tourism trail, but we're able to provide employment in a destination where if it wasn't for that community tourism project, it would be quite hard to make money and things like that. So it allows people to stay in their communities and not have to go and travel to cities, etc., to sort of find work there. So the other nice thing as well is the Blue Dragons Children Foundation. This is really close to our hearts at Intrepid. We actually have a huge charity walk every September, which we are more than welcome to get involved with. And this charity here actually supports children that are actually involved with trafficking. So a really serious topic. But on a trip, you actually go and you have breakfast there, and it's just fantastic to see all the incredible ways that they are supporting children. What else? So we reduce waste and plastic. So we have no single-use plastics on our trips. At the start of every trip, every customer will get a lovely Intrepid tote bag. What I love about this, right, is that they are made in country by a social enterprise or a charity. So for example, if you are in Peru, the bag there is made by a charity called Casa Trans. This supports trans women in Lima. It gives them a safe place to stay and work. And there they learn how to do tailoring, and that's where our Intrepid bags are made. So I just love that. Every country has such a cool story behind the bag. And obviously, ultimately, it stops us from our customers from, getting, bags and things like that, plastic bags. We also have refillable water stations on all of our transport. So, for example, when I was in Vietnam, I didn't buy a water bottle once. I just refilled my big water bottle every single day, as many times as I wanted, from the huge tanker that we had on our bus. So I love that. I think it's just a really simple but effective way of reducing plastic. We also go off the tourism trail. So by doing this, we are really working to avoid over tourism. So basically, going and visiting, lesser known destinations. So not only does doing this obviously, avoid and help to stop that sort of over tourism, but it's also great because it spreads the wealth. It means that local communities, all over can essentially have that money and go and visit. It's sort of like what I was saying before, go and visit these smaller communities that are really have such interesting things to go and do and see. But also, it also means that as a customer, you can go and visit some like fantastic, really interesting places that you might not have like ordinarily have gone to. So yeah, I just think that is absolutely brilliant. And I think a great example of that is actually on our highlights of Crete trip. So here we go to obviously a very well known destination, and we actually go to a different side of the island and we go and visit the sort of White Mountains of Crete. And we actually did this with TTG last year as part of our Sustainable Travel Heroes fam trip. And I mean, that I've, you know, we all absolutely loved that trip, and we said it was just such a fantastic experience to go and visit somewhere that is so different, and but a very well known destination. So I love that Intrepid do this, and we visit destinations all over the world, but seeing them from a different side. So yeah, that is something that is probably one of my favorite things. And Intrepid are also really big on supporting community initiatives, and that then could lead into trips. And a great example of this is in Bosnia. So we actually supported like basically like the Bosnian government in creating like trips and things like that, that well, there were like excursions in Bosnia, which we then, because we create so many of them, were able to then go and create an entire trip from. So yeah, absolutely amazing. What else? And then just to sort of wrap it up, really, just to talk a little bit about the Intrepid Foundation. So we are really, really proud of our foundation. Sorry, I'm reading all your comments as they come through. So yeah, I know, I just love the trips as well. And Sarah, yeah, if you do have any questions, share them on this Q&A, because we've got a few minutes just to talk if you've got any questions. But just a little bit about our foundation. So the Intrepid Foundation is our not-for-profit. It is a huge part of what we do. We have an entire team just dedicated to the Intrepid Foundation, and it has been running since 2002. We now actually support over 150 communities across the world, and they are 150 projects, sorry, across the world, and they're just doing all different sorts of things. Two of my favorite, one is in Indonesia, where we support pygmy elephants, which are the world's smallest elephants, which I think is very cute, and it's basically helping that population of elephants thrive by sort of educating locals and things like that. The other really lovely thing is that we also support another social enterprise called Education for All. This is out in Morocco in the High Atlas Mountains, and this supports girls to be able to stay in education throughout the year. So loads of amazing projects and fantastic things that we do in within the foundation, and we've raised millions since then. So fantastic organization. So every percentage of every single booking goes back to our foundation. Brill. So does anyone have any questions, Charlotte? We all okay? Brilliant. That is all we have time for. If you have any questions, drop me an email, and I'd be more than happy to get back to you if you'd like any more information on anything. But yeah, thank you everyone so much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.